Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020, and today is going to be talking about the update for September 29th, 2020. We are going to be discussing a few things that are in the patch. I'm not going to be going over everything. Some of the things that I've already noticed, a couple of problems with the patch already, and then I'm going to go over a couple of other new things that I have recently discovered and I don't know if everybody was aware of, so I figured I would share with you guys all in this video. So basically a big show and tell. Or share and tell. Share and tell? Share and tell. There we go. Alright, so obviously the Japan map is out and available and very updated. It does look very nice. I cannot deny that. Okay, so a couple of the additions here. We have 3 new airports that have been added. We have 60 airport improvements based on community feedback. You'd have to go through the forums to determine what those are. The control towers added on 700 plus US airports. That's a big deal because pretty much all of them were, well, not all of them, but a bunch of them were missing them. Let's see here. The sensitivity screen is now displayed correctly. Yes, that is true. So the control sensitivity can now be adjusted again. ATC options should now correctly be saved. That was another big one. All of the ATC options weren't ever being saved correctly. Livery selection should now work as expected. That's nice to see as well. And the music can now be activated before or during the initial download or startup. So that's cool too. I know a lot of people complain about the music. Aerodynamics, the collision problems on negative altitudes have been fixed. So now when you hit the ground, you're out of there. Braking power on the ground has been tweaked to reflect more realistic braking distances. I'm pretty happy about that. Some of the braking I think was ridiculous. Fuel consumption updating mass problems has been fixed. For some airplanes, I wish they had itemized which airplanes that would be, so we knew what to expect, but whatever. Okay, so a couple other big ones that I want to talk about. Let's see here. Visual improvements. We have the fixed issues related to the Copilot autopilot button lights, which I never really had an issue with, but the wing flex on the 787 sounds kind of cool. That's been improved. The big one that I wanted to talk about for the Airbus. We fixed the APU flow shutting down of the left engine. So theoretically now we should be able to turn the APU off and have the left engine actually stay on. And then now coming back down to the A320, and I'm focusing on the A320 just for those of you who've been following for my guide that I'm creating. We fixed the missing runway in the MCD performance page, improved disappearance of legs too early following a flight plan. This one I have actually ran into. Basically, the green flight path line to your next waypoint will just suddenly disappear, like 40 miles away. Stars are filtered to display the ones connected to the selected runway in the MCDU. That's awesome. And invalid entry has been replaced to not allowed. That's much better because invalid entry makes you think that you typed something in wrong versus you just can't do it. So that's good. And then flaps F indication is replaced to full when flaps are completely deployed. So that's good as well. And then this one I'm kind of excited about. Track IR can now be enabled or disabled in the camera panel. So we'll have to look for that here in a second. A couple known issues we want to be aware of is game may crash if the VFR map is not opened right after starting the flight. That's kind of a lame bug. I'm sort of shocked they released it with that because unless this is only to specific airport or aircraft, in which case they should have identified that. What this sounds like to me is that every time you start a flight, you need to open up the VFR map. I'm not quite sure what the parameters there are. I'm sure we'll find out at some point. I don't really use the VFR map. And then PFD shut down randomly on the Airbus A320, so that still hasn't been resolved. And then just a couple other issues that you guys can read through. But those are the big ones that I wanted to point out. Now, let's go ahead and talk performance here. The performance of the sim so far has actually been pretty smooth. Load times seem to be improved. The stuttering when loading into a new airfield seems to be significantly better. I can tell you right now that cloud indication is 100% wrong right now. So it looks like weather is still borked. So let's go into our settings and verify that I actually have that right. Let's see if I have live weather enabled. I'm pretty sure it's live. Yeah, live weather settings. So the weather is still wrong. That's absolutely wrong. We do not have any real cloud cover right now. I mean, my house would be, right out that way. We don't have this kind of cloud cover right now. We certainly don't have what looks to be almost rain clouds. So weather still sucks, which we will be talking about this guy. Give me a second here. Let me bring that up. If we come over here and go to our mfssaddons.org, another cool news today is, let's go to payware. This guy. So, weather force by Rex Simulations. You can see some display on it. This is a really awesome add-on. I used Rex stuff in X-Plane 11. Their weather programs were always pretty darn on point. I will be trying this out later this evening and letting you guys know how it goes, but it's really exciting to hear that this is actually up and ready to roll. I'm very stoked about this. Rex Simulations does some really cool stuff. Their weather programmings have always been real good, right up there with Active Sky. So, you know, really excited to see how this one performs, and I will let you guys know about that. But for those of you who are familiar with their work, thought I would show you guys that this is ready in case you guys haven't seen it yourself. The other thing I want to show you guys and make sure that you are aware of exist is, unfortunately, with the latest patch, here the A32NX, the mod is 3.0, which was just released 4 days ago, is now unsupported. This release today broke it. They are working on it, so hopefully we'll see a fix here relatively soon. Let's go ahead and refresh the page. Actually, it's been a minute. Yep. Okay, so they are we're looking for a version 3.1, so hopefully we'll see that pretty quick here. All right. Next thing I want to show you guys, if we come over here to Navigraph, on their homepage, beta testing nav data for MSFS. So if you guys want to update your nav data, we can now finally do so. Now, it is a beta version, so just like with any beta release of any product, you know, expect there to be some bugs. There is likely to be some issues, maybe some crashes, things like that. But if you are a subscriber to Navigraph or interested in becoming one, this is a neat incentive to start updating your nav data. Which brings me to the next page. If you guys come to this link, I'll try to make sure to put this in the link in the description below, but here you can download the installer for the beta release here and start playing around with your nav data and getting it up to date. Now, cool part is, for those of you who have been paying attention on the A320neo, now this is the default A320. This is not the mod. Obviously, as I pointed out, the mod is currently broken. So, a little bit on the boring side at the moment, but cool part about it is if we come down to our... Now, the nav cycle, I have installed the FMS data update. So, the nav cycle is actually current, even though it shows that it's still out of sync. That's just the MCDU in the plane is not registering the correct nav data. But one of the things, for those of you who've been following my document, that was resolved is if we go here, and we're just going to go KTUS2/KLAX, going to Los Angeles, no company routes. We won't worry about everything else right now. We'll come down to flight plan. KTUS set our departure. We're departing on a 11 left, going to the Borough 4, going to the Gila Bend transition. Okay, and let's make sure that actually picked the Gila Bend. It did. All right, let's go to KLAX. Doing the arrival, we're going to be looking for the ILS-25 right. The stars were not showing before. ILS-25 right had absolutely no stars for the A320, which is obviously incorrect. And the one that was missing for us that we had to wing it was the Hollywood 1. So we now have the Hollywood 1. We can set the C-view transition, also known as a VIA in the A320. So we have the ILS-25 right C-view using the Hollywood 1 star. Okay, and it even actually has our transition here from east wind, which is awesome, because that was something that we had to configure before. So now if we go through our flight route, there's Gila Bend direct to east wind, which we had to do before. Now we should be jumping on the J104 here, but we could always edit that. And then McQueen, Midler, Monroe. So all of the points are here as to be expected, which is awesome. And we even have the altitude settings. Okay, so one of the things that was missing because of the way we had to do it was we didn't have any of the altitude constraints listed on any of the waypoints. So this is going to make this a lot nicer. I'm really excited about this. Hopefully we get our A320 mod back. Now let's go ahead and take a quick flight around and see what we got. Now the one thing that I will tell you, load times do seem to be slightly improved. If I haven't mentioned that already, I don't think I did. Which is kind of comforting. It's nice to see that they're working on that. That was much faster for me, even what it has been. Now I am on a pretty high-end system, but I'm hoping that the lower-end systems are actually going to see some improvement now. And let's see what the load time looks like. So we're already going to be hot started. We're going to be on the runway, and we'll go up and fly around and see if there's any performance increase or decrease. We'll look for stutterings. See if anything that was actually fixed in the previous patch has now been broken and ruined. Oh, sorry about that, guys. Hopefully I'll remember to cut that sound out. Alright, so let's go ahead and center my camera. There we go. Alright, so loading in. That felt a lot faster than what's typical. Normally, you have those 10-15 seconds of stuttering when you first load in. We don't need flaps for takeoff today. Let's make sure the parking brake is released. It is not. Alright. Let's get out of here. Alright, airspeed's alive. Another improvement was supposed to be to the runway textures and taxiways. There's 58 knots. They do look a bit better. It looks like they still have those blue lights right in the middle of the taxiway. So far everything is nice and smooth. Haven't ran into any stuttering. I normally get a little bit of it when I first get airborne. Let's pick our head up a little bit. So yeah, the weather is still completely wrong. That is absolutely not Tucson weather right now. Trim is still ridiculous for the default aircraft. I think that's why I still prefer the Coronado. I know a lot of people are anti-Coronado. I know that we're all pretty much on the same page when it comes to the G1000, that we're not crazy about the G1000. But I think for me it's the flight control surfaces are so much better in it, and managing the aircraft is so much easier in the 182. I mean, trim is a really big deal, with these, especially with these smaller aircraft. It's so huge. Otherwise you're just constantly fighting the controls left and right, left and right. What I am impressed with, and I guess it's a good thing that the weather is, what it is, what it's displaying it as, is I'm not having any, frame rate loss. I'm not having any stuttering, and I've got the clouds on ultra right now. And in the past, I've mentioned in previous videos that volumetric cloud set on the ultra setting was a real problem for me. I was noticing major FPS hits with it engaged, or with it engaged, with them on. So it's smooth as glass, guys. I haven't actually flown out of Tucson in a minute in GA, so. I suppose some of this could be caching. I haven't cleared my cache, but actually, you know what? I have rolling cache disabled, so it can't be caching. So this is live feed, you know, one cell at a time here. So I'm gonna say yes, there has been a further performance increase. Let's rapidly change the scene in front of us. No issues whatsoever, guys. No stuttering at all. That was smooth. If you guys, obviously I can't see the video as I'm recording, but I'm telling you guys right now, if there was any stuttering in this recording, it's the recording. It's not the sim. Let's take a look at, what was it? One of the other options we had here. I think it was the cameras, right? For the track IR. Now I'm not seeing, it was saying that the camera could be disabled. Was that for showcase? Free camera? Nope, it's camera drone. Look at it just tooling around. Although, look at that, actually. Let's go to the external view for a second. Let me get this off the screen. There we go. They changed the sound. So, if you guys recall from previous videos, no matter what angle you were at with the aircraft, the sound of the engine stayed the same. Check it out. Now we can actually hear that audio rotation. I should try the 182, because I think it was the 182 that I was actually noticing that the most in, was that wasn't changing. I'm not seeing in the camera settings where we can disable or enable track IR. But you know what? Okay, actually, let me back that up for a second, because so I don't use track IR. I actually use a program called OpenTrack, this guy right here. I find it be easier to configure. It's easier to set up your access. It's easier to navigate. It really is. And setting up your hotbinds or your hotkeys is easier. You have two options for hotkeys. You can have two different configurations based on which button you select. As far as the mappings, it's significantly easier. You can just click asymmetric mapping, and then you move one way, adjust its side, move your other way, adjust the other side. So this is just called OpenTrack, and it works with track IR hardware. And I think it's significantly better than the Natural Point software. And plus, the Natural Point software hasn't been updated in Lord knows how long. I think the last I saw was like 2015, I want to say. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and do a landing really quick. Of the airports that have received a traffic control tower, it doesn't look like Tucson International got theirs. But that's alright. Which is funny because Davis-Monthan Air Force Base has theirs. Teacher's pets. So we're going to try a landing here. I'm super low, by the way. Absolutely super low. And this is not an ideal approach. My purpose of doing this is to see what the braking is like. I know the logging said the braking was adjusted. So we're going to see by how much. This is a horrible approach. Do not follow this. I will stress again, this is strictly for testing the braking. Because, yeah, I'd be in a lot of trouble right now, I think, if I actually tried to pull this one off. Somebody would yell at me. Alright. So let's go ahead and bring it on in. Gotta love my screaming children in the background there. I promise that's completely normal. Long approach. Come on, bleed that airspeed off. There we go. Get that nose up. Alright, so about 50 knots going on the brakes. That seemed more realistic to me. So I remember the last time I flew the 172, it stopped like on the dime, all right? And I get that I touched down at like, I think it was about 50 or 60 knots, but I think that was a 40 knot touchdown, and we still had some decent roll, and that's what I would expect to see. So anyway, I hope you guys have enjoyed this Overkill's news, if you will. if you guys enjoyed these kind of things and you want me to keep, doing videos like this where I'm showing you new tools, new add-ons, things like that, let me know in the description below. I know there's a ton of them out there, so if that's something you guys would like me to do, I absolutely will. I am one of those people who's always looking for new applications, new add-ons, new tools to make the sim experience either easier or more realistic, whatever it may be. I will be checking out the weather system tonight, so expect a video on that as well. And until next time, guys, stay safe. Catch you soon.